When you're young and free-spirited, you buy a BMW. When you're old and your spirit depends mainly on blue pills, you buy a Mercedes. And when you're middle-aged and you're on the lookout for girlfriends of those BMW drivers, you buy an Audi. And it so happens I have a new Audi A6 here. It attracts a lot of attention from men. Is it as good as they think it is? Let's find out. From the outside, Audi looks aesthetic. Everything is simple and has its purpose. For example, the grille is not big just because it houses a bunch of driver assist sensors. Paint these red and blue and you'd look like a Secret Service limo. From the side, huge wheel arches filled by these optional 21-inch rims. Alloys this size are standard on Range Rover Sport SVR. Sure, Range Rover has more rubber, but that's still pretty big. In the rear we have a bit of a problem. At first glance everything looks fine, but then you notice fake exhaust tips. So you think, okay, maybe this is a small diesel and designers wanted to make it look sporty nonetheless. But this is a 340 horsepower V6 petrol. And to make things worse, you can see the real exhaust tips under the bumper. Couldn't they make them an inch shorter? But enough of my whinging. Generally speaking, I like the way the new Audi looks. I could see myself in one if I could afford it. How much is it? I'll let you guess. Drop me a comment below. And now on with the review. You probably noticed the 55 TFSI badge. Audi decided it will no longer focus on engine displacement, but on power output. 2 digits from 25 to 70 signify the output range. 55 means between 333 and 374 horsepower. Then there's the powertrain type, in this case TFSI, which is a turbo petrol. New Audi A6 is all about driver aids and new multimedia. We'll get to multimedia later. Now let's talk about semi-autonomous driving. For example, lane assist is 2 separate systems. One prevents you from cutting in front of someone. In an emergency situation, the car will steer you back in your lane. I had this work once and it's pretty effective, but it will not keep you in the middle of your lane. It'll just keep bouncing from left to right line. So there's another system which, together with adaptive cruise control, lets you drive in semi-autonomous mode. You still have to keep your hands on the wheel, but the system keeps you in the middle of your lane, or it will change the lane for you when you turn on the indicator. Adaptive cruise control can also slow you down depending on the speed limit in the area that you're in. It works fine as long as speed limits don't change too often, like it is the case in Poland. It's annoying to other drivers when the driver in front seems to be unable to make up his mind and keeps on accelerating, decelerating, accelerating, decelerating. Annoyance. Regardless, Audi encourages you to take your foot off the gas. The A4 a few years back displayed a green icon suggesting you should slow down because there's an upcoming speed limit or a roundabout, so it's better to coast and save fuel. Now there is also a slight vibration of the gas pedal, so you know it's time to slow down even if you don't see the green icon. I've encountered a similar solution in hybrid Mercedes-Benz GLC. Speaking of hybrids, new A8 and A6 are now mild hybrids. This means the engine can shut off completely during coasting, even with speeds up to 160 km per hour. This is supposed to help save up to 0.7 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. Audi promises 55 TFSI A6 should use around 9 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and around 6 liters in extra-urban cycle. I got 11 and 9 respectively, which I think is still fine when you remember this car weighs over 1800 kilograms with the driver. That's around 100 kilograms more than a 340 horsepower BMW 540i.
Which leads us to a comparison with the Bavarian competitor. BMW is lighter and faster from 0 to 100 km per hour. Audi takes 5.1 and BMW 4.8 seconds. But Audi is more efficient and it has higher torque, which makes it feel more eager and faster down low in the rev range. Despite torque down low, I'd say A6 is effortless to drive. Suspension soaks up potholes and driver aids watch over me, so my journey is carefree. A4, which I drove a couple of years ago, was boring to drive, but here I have 340 horsepower to play with. And driving fun is further amplified by four-wheel steering and variable steering. Depending on the speed, steering ratio varies from already quick 16.5 to 1 to very direct 9.5 to 1. It means you turn the steering wheel just 9.5 degrees to get the front wheels turned by 1 degree. Most of the time you don't feel A6 is a heavy car. It corners fast, it's quiet, it's precise like a surgeon's scalpel. But when you overcook it, for example on a tight roundabout, you feel it is nose heavy. Only after a split second, traction control and quattro all-wheel drive do their magic and push you out. But like I said at the beginning, this is a car for a mature connoisseur, not for a wanton youth.
And now let's talk about the interior and systems which will change the way we interact with the car.
Audi A6 has 3 screens, a 12-inch virtual cockpit in front of the driver, which displays the speed, the revs, night vision, multimedia, phone, sat-nav, onboard computer information. Then there is a sort of 10-inch screen up here at the top of the center console, which is for settings, sat-nav and multimedia, and an almost 9-inch screen here at the bottom of the center console. And this one is for the AC. You can also add some shortcuts to your favorite functions here. And this screen is also used to input address or name of the place you're looking for.
Both central screens give haptic feedback, so you don't press something by accident. You can adjust the strength of the clicking feel, but if you don't like it, you can turn it off completely.
The car is also supposed to understand voice commands. Now, Polish is a difficult language, I grant you that. So instead of finding addresses, the system suggests name from my phone book. I'm sure it will work well in English or possibly German. Let me know in the comment section below how it works in other languages.
Finding phone book entries is more reliable, but it's still easier to write down what you want on the lower display. And this works well, because for example, I don't need to remember the address of a restaurant. It's enough I remember the name. And if you're concerned about fingerprint marks on the screens, Audi offers a cleaning mode as well.
If you're up to date with this channel, you know I don't review Audis very often. This means I know competitor infotainment systems better and I know how to use them. This is my first encounter with Audi's new MMI and I find it very intuitive, something I could never say about the old version of the system.
The cockpit is simple and elegant. I love how the gear lever is ergonomically shaped. Cup holders do not block anything. There are a couple of USB ports and a wireless charger under the armrest. Glove box is large too. In the back there is good legroom and headroom. There is a touch panel for rear climate control zones and 2 more USB ports. And there are a couple of cup holders and some storage in the armrest. You can lock the backrests to prevent people from accessing the boot when the car is in valet mode. At 530 liters, the boot is exactly the same size as that in BMW 5 Series. A6 and 5 Series have very similar dimensions. It's surprising how, despite using lightweight materials, Audi remains heavier than a BMW. Not just heavier, but also more expensive. Base models for corresponding engine versions are similar in price at around €60,000. But when you add some options, Audi ends up 15% more expensive. This test example costs around €110,000. And 15% is 15%, regardless of whether you pay cash or lease.
But let's assume you're not paying for the car, your company is, and Audi A6 is within your budget range. In that case, it's one hell of a good car.
If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Help me make better reviews and contribute to my Patreon or PayPal, links below. And what do you think about business limousines? Do you prefer what German, Japanese or maybe Swedish car makers have to offer? Let me know in the comment section below. New episodes every Friday, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.